Now, Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.
Bonjour et bienvenue to a Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon, as we say in English. And of course, joining me on the phone for the first time in a few months is the one, the only, the affable Sir Alan Niven. Bonjour, Monsieur Niven. How goes?
All things considered, it goes well. I cannot complain. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I have a nice place to live. So I cannot complain about being imprisoned. I'm amused by people who complain that it's hard to be shut up in a Bel Air or Hollywood or Malibu mansion. And I have two beautiful cats that keep me company. So I'm good.
Yeah, you know, and even though I'm not in a Bel Air mansion out here in the suburbs of Montreal, listen, the weather is nice. We thank God for Netflix and CBS All Access. I've been streaming Blue Bloods. I mean, you know. Listen, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. But let us get over to our guest. It is George Thorogood, and well, he's also having to do the home thing. He was supposed to be in May touring Canada. Obviously, not happening. One of the things that George has been known for over the years was doing a 50 show in 50 state run, but also opening up for the Rolling Stones, much like your beloved Guns N' Roses once did. Any great Rolling Stone GNR stories?
Well, I'm sure most people know the classic. In a nutshell, Guns N' Roses were offered the entire Steel Wheels tour. But for reasons that you can research, I felt that would be a disaster and passed. And we did end up getting an offer from Mr. Jagger, or Sir Mick, to open in LA at 2 shows at the Coliseum. And we ended up selling 4 shows at the Coliseum and doing that and getting paid a very handsome salary. But the best part of it all was how Axl arrived for the first show, because he locked himself in his apartment and wouldn't come out. And we were half an hour from stage time, and he still hadn't shown up at the gig. So I talked to Michael Ahern, the production manager for the Rolling Stones, who's a really cool and level-headed guy, as you'd expect around that class of band, and said, do you have a friend at the LAPD who will do something without asking questions? He said, yes, and I don't know what you want to ask him, so I'm going to leave the room. And this guy came in, and I gave him specific instructions. I told him where Axl lived, gave him the address, and I said, you send 2 uniforms right there in a black and white right now, and if they have to kick the door down and put him in handcuffs, that's what they do, and they put him in the back of the black and white, and they bring him right here as fast as possible right now. And that's how Axl arrived to do the first show, opening for the Rolling Stones, in the back of a police car, under the threat of handcuffs if you resisted.
How dare you break his quarantine? Axl has always been a visionary. He was self-isolating 30 years or whatever, 35 years before the time. He was in quarantine. He was just watching out for everybody's safety. How dare you break that moment of zen peace?
I have to bend a knee and say that Mr. Rose was utterly prescient in knowing that we'd all have to self-quarantine.
See, that is why he is one of rock's greatest vocalists, because he is creative and visionary, and I will maintain that throughout. Quickly on George, incredible guitarist, great feel on the guitar. How do you sort of take it? Because, you know, when we look at guitarists, we always look at the flashy ones, the Eddie Van Halens, the George Lynches, the people that have all this fire and brimstone going on around them as they play. But George is meat and potatoes, but effective. How do you sort of qualify or quantify George's playing?
George to me was, and the very first time I heard George, my instant reaction was to turn him up. I loved his feel. He personalized the Chuck Berry within him sufficiently to make him more than just, somebody else doing another Chuck Berry riff. I loved his feel. I loved his energy. And that's George. I mean, he plays those riffs and he plays softball and he knows who he is and he's utterly authentic in that.
Absolutely. So let's get over to the absolutely authentic George Thorogood. Well, folks, here he is. The one, the only, le seul et unique. And a Mets fan, by the way. I know, don't ask. Here is George.
That'd be perfect.
I know. I'm telling you. But being an Expos fan, what am I going to do? I can't cheer for anything anyway.
Because the next thing you tell me, you're into Kiss.
Hey, now. We love the Kiss people, though they are fantastic. But here is somebody who probably loves Kiss as well, the one, the only, George Thorogood. We are speaking with legendary musician George Thorogood. He was actually supposed to be in Montreal in the last couple of days, but it has been postponed. George, a pleasure to have you on the phone, if not in our venues, but pleasure to have you.
Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. How's that?
That's not bad. It's a good way to start, actually. So,
yes.
So talk to me about this touring situation, because everything is shut down, and some folks are saying, well, let's keep it to 2021, and then you look at Arkansas and Missouri, and they're like, hey, we're open, let's go. How do you sort of see the situation moving forward with the industry, but also with yourself and your shows?
Well, our situation is probably not unlike other rock acts that they rely on their income mostly from touring. So it's a matter of concern, but the main concern is getting people healthy again. That's anyway from our end of it, the Destroyers' end of it. That's our main concern, is get everybody up and running and healthy, and then take it from there. It's all it means to me too. Another thing is this, Mitch, is we got to postpone our Canadian show. That means if everything gets lifted, I get to go to Canada next year. I'm just putting off something I love to do anyway. So it hasn't. What it'll do, Mitch, if you think about it this way, you want to look on a positive end of it from an artist's point of view. It will extend everybody's career by a year and a half.
Yeah, I'm wondering what we're going to do with all the people that have farewell tours. Does Elton John and does Kiss, do they just extend it for an extra bonus year? But do you take a moment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You'll have to ask them. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, do you take a pensive moment and say to yourself, listen, I've been doing this for over 40 years, maybe even close to 50 years. Maybe I just don't bother. Maybe I just sort of hang it up and just say, it's been good.
Yeah, every day, Mitch.
But do you see that more now? I mean, are you actually? No.
How many times have the Rolling Stones said this will be the last tour, and then somebody comes around and says, "Well, here's $200 million to go back on the road." Nobody's going to turn down that kind of money, Mitch. So, yeah, every working stiff thinks that, especially when they get into the senior citizen age. They start thinking in those terms. But then there's things that come up. There's still a demand for what you do, and there's still a desire. And the main thing is, can we deliver? So as long as those three things all are in order, we're going to stay in business. But yet everybody thinks about that. Every day or so goes by, and you say, well, maybe I should not be doing this anymore. But then I look around, I see our artists who are older than me and been at it longer than me, and they're still going. So I go, well, gee, they're older than I am, and they're still out there kicking around. So I kind of use that as a barometer, looking at the other acts and seeing what's going on there. As far as thinking that, who knows what the future is? I don't know how long. I don't have any problem with Canada, that's for sure. We always get the red carpet treatment there. How long we'll be invited back to your country? As long as we invite us back, we'll come back. So I don't think looking on the horizon a retirement plan. But again, first things first, let's get everybody healthy.
Yeah, that's the most important one. And I have to say this about you delivering on your shows. A couple of years ago, I was with Troy Luccketta, the drummer for this band Tesla, and you were in Montreal. And I brought him to the show, and he said, "All right, Mitch, I don't really want to go, but we'll see one or two songs, and then we'll head out." And he got to the show, and we saw one or two songs, and then I said, "All right, let's go." He goes, "No, that was too good." and he stayed the whole way. And then after the show, he says, "I have to meet George. I have to give him a hug." That was a religious experience. So you're still delivering at a high level, and I would imagine you remember that.
Hallelujah, praise Jesus, and pass the collection plate.
Keep it going. A couple of years ago, 2017, you released Party of One, which was your first solo album, and it was really solo. I mean, it was you and a guitar, and it was brilliant. It was just a brilliant piece of art. I'm going to call it art because that's what it was. In this sort of lockdown situation that we're in, are you plunking away at a new solo album? Would you want to do Party of One Volume 2? Do you see yourself working now, or are you just sort of sitting at home waiting for this to end?
I'm trying to keep my options open on all avenues, like any other live performer, like of an actor saying, "Oh, I still want to keep my Broadway chops up in case I get an offer to do that, and I want to keep my movie chops up in case I get asked to do that." So I kind of bounce around in between. And now, as far as another solo album goes, who knows? I mean, if I get an offer, I think I got strong enough material, I'll give it I'll give some serious thought. Really, on the top of my head, and it's been on my head since I was 17, is getting out there with a groovy rock band and really having a blast and to reach the level of religious experience, well, that's the ultimate, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it really is. We are talking a lot about touring these days. In 1981, you did that 50 and 50, which the Associated Press, and I'm going to quote from the article, called it a lunatic endeavor. Is that something that a new rock band could try, or do you think that now with the post-COVID era, something like that, a lunatic endeavor of that nature, is for the history books?
No, I think probably the person who wrote it's a lunatic.
Yeah. By the way, what a great...
Well, let me put it to you this way. What do I do for a living, Mitch? I play in a rock band, a reasonably successful one, a reasonably good one. Now, if you can't get up every day and go to work 50 days and play in a rock band, I'm not talking about 250 days or 1,000, 50 days in the course of a lifetime. I mean, come on. It's Lou Gehrig played in 2,130 games in a row. So, it always amazes me. Sure, a band could do that now. We'll have to do it all over again if we ever make Canada the 51st state, which I don't think is going to happen. I think, why don't we do the Canadian thing and say, how do we have 11 provinces there? How many do you have? 11?
Yeah, 10 or 11. Yeah. You see, as you get older, 50 states in 50 days is tough, but 10 provinces in 10 days, that ain't so bad. I think you can handle that.
Well, we do it every time anyway. I mean, we hit all the provinces anyway when we go up there. As far as a band doing that today, sure, they could do it. Anybody could do it. We're just the first ones who thought about doing it. And B.B. King once worked something like 341 night stands in 1956 or something like that. So, it's doable. Why we did it is maybe that's the idea of it is lunatic, but lots of it was a lot of fun. It was people coming out. We'd play a place for 200 people one night, and then next night we'd play for 2,000 people. So it was a variation each night. So but you got to be a lunatic to get in this business anyway, Mitch. How about that?
Well, you sort of do. But what did you learn from that experience? Because that really was a feat. I mean, we always talk about Guinness Book of World Records and stuff like that, but that was a feat. As an artist, what did you learn from that experience? Well,
we started turning it around and halfway through it and started traveling at night, which we never did. And we learned that traveling at night for this band works out a lot better than traveling in the day. So we learned that, Also, we learned we could do it, but it didn't. Nobody said how long we have to play each night, although we did do a full program. But what we really learned was, hey, from now on, let's travel at night, which was about halfway through the tour. We realized that was the way to go.
Well, hey, that's a good plan, especially in this day and age with all the construction that's always on every road in every province, every state. Recently with Sammy Hagar, James Hetfield, REO Speedwagon, and more, you paid tribute to Eddie Money, and the show aired on Access TV. Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Eddie Money, because, I had a chance to meet him once or twice, and he was just such a real down-to-earth I'll say dude for the lack of a better word, but he was just a great dude. What was that like for you to meet him, and not meet him, but be friends with him, but also pay tribute to him?
Well, we were friendly. I'd like to say we were friends. We didn't get a chance to associate each other with that much. I did his radio show. He came to one of our gigs. We did a festival together I think it was in Tennessee. We did a festival, and you hit the right description of Eddie. Down to earth was his way, and he was always pleasant to me. And we had talked on more than one occasion of getting a tour together and call it, Thorogood and Money, or Money and Thorogood. Put your money on Thorogood. Best ticket money can buy, something like that. And we were both hot for it, but unfortunately, it never came about.
That is unfortunate. The baseball season is delayed. We, in every interview, talk about the Mets. I guess the silver lining in this COVID thing is that you don't actually get to watch the Mets lose this year. But where do you think we're going to go with professional sports? Should we start them up again? Should we have audiences in stadiums? Or should we just call it a day and say, listen, no baseball this year, no football this year. Let's aim for next year.
Well, maybe they can compromise and put sporting events on the TV, and that way people can stay home and still watch the game. A lot of people, I don't go to the ballpark myself. I always watch the game on television anyway. So maybe that's a way to the ground. The other day I was turned on the television. It was a boxing match in Minnesota, which they limited how many people could be there, but it was telecast live, I guess, all over the country, our country anyway. So maybe that's a way to get around it. You can always sit in your easy chair and watch the basketball game or the baseball game, football, whatever. They may have to do that. That might be the way to keep the sporting, keep the sporting spirit alive. I don't know. That's not my field, but something tells me they might come around and do that eventually if this thing doesn't, come to an end soon.
Hopefully it will. I will ask you this: the George Thorogood Epiphone White Fang. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. You came to Southern Ontario a couple of years ago, and I had a chance to be backstage with Adam and actually look at one up front. It is a beautiful beast. Talk to me about your choice of guitars and signature guitars, and how involved are you in the making of it, the designing of it, the final product? Do you just sort of stamp your name on it and go, all right, do whatever? Or do you sit there and go, no? Okay.
No. It's not that simple, Mitch.
Okay.
Every guitarist, or everybody pretty much when they play an instrument, especially guitarists, their hands have been accustomed to doing a certain thing on a certain instrument. Now they stopped making the instrument I play around 1970, and the ones I bought, I just wore them all out. They were just beat up so bad. We were spending fortunes to repair them. Finally, they said, "Well, George, we don't have any guitars left. We can't find any more. These are all beat up." I said, "Well, I guess it's time for me to retire." And they went, "Oh, no. Wait." Adam said, "Wait, wait. I got Epiphone on the phone. Let's see if we can get around that." So I said, "Well, I'm telling you, I can't play anything with a 125." And they said, "Well, we'll pattern it as close to the 125 as we can get." So our guitar tech and our sound engineer, our sound technician, worked very hard at getting the Epiphone to play. My hands could play like I was playing the other instrument. But sound-wise, it's far and away a superior instrument than the one I was using before.
Oh yeah, and it's just gorgeous to look at.
Well, of course, everybody else's guitar looks like a piece of a jigsaw puzzle. My guitar is beautiful. My guitar looks like a musical instrument.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
And it sounds great.
Exactly.
2021, South Michigan Avenue was the last album in 2011, 9 years ago now, not including the solo album. How important is it for you to have new music? Can you just put George Thorogood and the Destroyers on the marquee and go play Bad to the Bone and say thank you very much? Or do you have a need to be creative and say, no, that's a great song, but I got to give you something new, otherwise this gets boring for me. I got to stay active.
Only boring people get bored, Mitch. The day I become bored of playing Bad to the Bone for thousands of people who have paid top dollar to hear it, who love that song, well, then there's something wrong with me. I mean, that's very exciting. Go ask Keith Richards if he wants to stop playing Jumpin' Jack Flash. Never. Because you make those songs for the people, for the audience. I mean, it's like a restaurant that makes a menu, and you say, "Here's what's on the menu. What do you like?" And they go, "Well, I'll have the bad or the bone. That's the house specialty or whatever." As far as making new music and records, I always look at it this way, and I don't refer to it as like, let's see, an alcohol reference. But for lack of other references, I'll put it this way: if you have a really good shot of scotch or something like that in a glass, real expensive, real delicious, and it's perfect as it is, and then you pour a little water in it, then what do you got? Okay. And you put a little more water in it, what do you got? Then a little more water. Then it's a watered down drink and you can't taste it. Well, I don't want that to happen with our catalog. I don't want to just keep putting out stuff for the sake of doing it and diminishing the power of what we've already done. Did you think the Rolling Stones really need another album, Mitch? Come on.
No.
Do they?
No, they don't.
All right. Does Dylan?
No, he doesn't. Neither does Kiss. Neither does Aerosmith. Neither do...
Exactly. I mean, that's what you live for. My pal John Fogerty's always in the studio. I'm writing a new song. I'm going, why? What? You got the greatest catalog in the world, John. What we need to write new songs for? And the ones you have are just incredibly brilliant. So there's a time when you get to a spot and you say, okay, I've done this. Now it's oldies but goodies time. But in this day and age, they don't call them oldies. They call it rock classic. I prefer that.
Right. Yeah. The classics. Speaking of catalog, will there be anything done with the catalog in terms of, a compilation or a box set or unearthing some demos or live show? Do you see some kind of package coming forth in the next few years for the fans that have been there since 1977?
Sure. We're always working on that. An interesting twist of an alternative version of something or live stuff or, a live album, we're a live group. People like that sort of thing. Yeah, of course. And if sidestepping the idea of writing or creating new material, putting out like you said, the word you used to put out something latest, you got to keep your profile up. I watch Eric Clapton a lot, and his catalog had done what it did, and then he did a solo album, Back to the Cradle. He did an album with B.B. King, Riding with the King. He did a ball blues album like we did 2120. And then he did Me and Mr. Johnson. Yeah, there wasn't a new song on it like Sunshine of Your Love, but he did projects about every 2 years at keeping the Eric Clapton legacy alive. And I kind of took a little page from that and said, that's interesting. That's a good way to go. It seems to have worked out for him.
Oh, it worked out great. And listen, for me, buying the live album in 1986, that was the one that turned it around for me because my friend was a George fan and he had the studio albums and I was like, okay, let's go. Then I heard the live one and I went, now I get it. Now I understand this artist. And that was just a brilliant piece of work, that 86 album. Since we are talking about Canada and sort of the shows you've missed here in May, just quickly reminisce about the importance. I know Montreal in particular was important. You've told me in the past that you'd show up at a club and there'd be hundreds of people outside and you'd go, oh, we must be at the wrong address. But no, they were there for you. How important is not only Montreal, but just sort of Canada in your career and making you who you are?
Very important. It's our, dare I say it, it's our home away from home. It's our neighbor. It's like a really wonderful neighbor that keeps the red carpet going and the front door open to us at all times. If we were going to wear out our welcome in Canada, we would have done it by now. So one of our projects is to record in Canada. There's been talk of doing it at the El Macombo in Toronto, which I've been into. Have a North American statement. I said, we've done this. I said, let's do something really special in Canada at some time, which we were supposed to do on this last run, but it's been postponed till next year. Whether that project is still going to be, on the table, I don't know, but I sure hope it is because, it's dare I say, it's one of our strongest markets. So I don't want to ignore it. I want to do something live there. I mean, the Stones did a live record there. Why can't we?
Yeah, why not? And I mean, you of course opened for the Stones years ago, so it would be a perfect, full circle on that. I know we only had 20 minutes. We've reached that, but George, just always a pleasure. You are one of my favorite interviews. You just are a true, genuine article, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Mitch. Rock and roll never sleeps; it just passes out.
That's right. Merci, monsieur. À la prochaine. See you next time.
I'll be looking forward to that, Mitch.
Absolutely, and please
stay healthy.
Oh, doing my best.
Healthy.
I am locked in this studio, not doing anything else but interviews. So,
okay,
I might need some sun. Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Here's Paul Stanley to tell you why he doesn't want to shake your hand.
Some people might have a little rock and roll pneumonia.
Not even cold gin will kill those germs. This is Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.